Everyone, welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer. We are joined by Evan Veith, Eric Nalin. Coach is not with us today, had to take one of his little girls to the doctor. So Evan is going to be our number 3, and we are going to discuss a roundtable he just posted with some big questions for the upcoming season. Head over to Inside Texas where you can see that their roundtable. Join for $1, then 50% off your first year. Link in the description. Also, our main man, Paul, just dropped the 2026 Longhorn Football Prospectus, Thinking Texas Football, best Texas preview in the world, SEC preview, opponents we play, and then the wider SEC. It's incredible. Go check it out. Link down in the description below. Evan, we're officially in roundtable season, huh? That's pretty nice.
Seriously, yeah, it feels like football's officially here when you got a big roundtable and a Q&A dropping on a Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting into the flow of it. Let's talk. So what you did with the roundtable is you just asked all of our staff, you framed a question, and then we had to respond to you. But it's a good way for the chat too to let us know what you think. First things first was the biggest storyline heading into fall camp. Well, did you even respond on these, Evan, or did you just provide?
Yeah, I did. I did at the very bottom.
At the bottom. Yeah. Let's start with mine. Mine was offensive line cohesion. And then, Eric, what did you say? What did you follow it up with?
Offensive line. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a big issue, though, until we get deeper into the season. I'm very confident the offensive line is going to be vastly improved and fine to good. I just don't know if it's going to be good enough to win a national championship, and we're not going to learn that in August anyways.
Yeah. Evan,
in the Kool-Aid a little bit, Eric. I know his videos have gotten a lot of us a little more, at least a little more bullish on what the line could be. And I feel like everyone either said like offensive line cohesion to this one or like Sark getting it done, which I think probably are the two main ones. I wanted to highlight something a little different with the linebacker and safety room because I do feel like Biles and Jelani McDonald are two, all SEC first, second team type players. But, what's next to them? Who's going to be taking that second Mike spot? How good can Derek Williams be? Those are the kind of things I'm looking out for too.
Hey, the O-line is not just the Landon Tangwall. That's a little bit of confirmation bias. First of all, he nailed the issues, the pros, the cons of that line in ways that we were talking about in January. He knows it's going to be outside zone, good pass blocking, all the stuff we've been talking about. So that gives me confirmation bias when he says other things that are kind of in the back of my mind. But then I just got a call yesterday, and the guy's talking about how they love Melvin Siani as a run blocker. They think he might be the best run blocker on the unit. We already know that they've got, Brandon Baker can be a good zone run blocker. I mean, the line has an identity, like Tangwall pointed out, like we've all said, it has an identity if they lean into it. So there's reasons to be optimistic about the offensive line. And then there's also reasons to pull back on the reins, knowing that they're going to have to do it against Georgia. It's, it's not just about playing the middle of the pack of the SEC. They've got to do it in the playoffs.
I hope it meets somewhere in the middle. I think Landon is really bullish on him, and I can't argue with him. He's a former offensive lineman. He clearly knows what he's talking about, and all of his evidence is from the tape, right? So there's nothing I'm really arguing about there. But he's just a little bit more bullish. I think I've been hurt before, fellas, and I'm a little bit scared to fly.
Hey, the thing that he's most bullish on that caught me by surprise was he said that they're the most talented offensive line in the country that he's seen. Not the best. He said Georgia and Notre Dame are better. And so how do you go from talented to the best is consistency. He highlighted a lot of Brandon Baker highlights. That's kind of like going through Huddle and saying, man, this guy's great. Well, you got to watch game tape too. There's been a lot of high school recruits that have an amazing Huddle, and then you go watch the game and their name's not called the entire night. So it could be misleading going by highlights. But my biggest takeaway from his videos are he says it a lot better. He comes from a much more expert opinion, but it's all stuff that's been in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Blake Bryant, bold take, offensive line will be the best Sark has had at Texas. Best performing, Blake? You mean like execution-wise? Because I do think it's probably one of the most talented. It probably is the most talented as far as athleticism. But the clear thing to me was I want to see that cohesion. But Evan, he's a hipster here. He's got linebacker and safety rooms. Linebacker's my number 2, so I'll allow that one.
I have the benefit of being able to go over everyone else's and say, you know what, there's a lot of O-line talk, and that probably is the right answer, or what kind of Justin and Paul are alluding to, like just how good can this team be? How good can Sark get it ready for week 2 with Ohio State? But, I do think it is important to I think a lot of us wrote in Ty Anthony Smith as LB2 or the Mike linebacker as pretty much as soon as the season ended because of his performance against Michigan. But Juice Cryer looks really good in that spring game. And from what Eric reports and from all we've heard, I mean, that's a real spot that he could win as a starter from the start of the season. So I'm definitely looking out for how that looks. And I also want to see just how deep that safety room can actually be if, Xavier Filsaime is playing in the nickel, how good Derek Williams can be, Kobe Black out there, all those factors.
Well, they take that level of experience too. You have to pay attention to that. When they take an experienced player, adding an experienced position to which you don't necessarily have to be a first-round pick, you just need reps. You should pay attention to that because they're clearly trying to settle the room. They want some stability there. Coaches will always pick stability over upside.
Hey, fans always underrate experience. I was watching that 2023, those highlights from the Alabama game, and not because I'm trying to live in the past, but just because I was trying to get a football fix. And David Benda's out there balling. David Benda was an afterthought the first few years of his career. He made that amazing sack, showed amazing closing speed. I mean, experience just matters so much, and fans underrate it. I underrated it last year in the opposite direction too. Experience goes a long way. It can be the bridge between talent.
Let's see what some of our coworkers had to say about the biggest storyline. Charlie Williams, outside of the offensive line, how well are the linebackers fitting the run? I think that's fair play. We kind of hit on that. Our new guy, Tyler Horka, he says, does the offensive line look the part? If it does, we're talking about a very well-rounded Texas offense and one that has the capability to meet Arch halfway from the start to a level that wasn't reached from the onset in 2025. Right from Notre Dame, he's already on the narratives, dude.
Hey, he went to Texas. He knows exactly what
he's been watching, but still, I'm like, man, he's quick with that.
He attended more Texas games than most fans did last year.
Yeah, for sure. And then Ian Boyd, I think this is another huge one. What can Arch Manning do in year 2? I think that's going to be the national media headline, clear. And I think in the Texas world, it's going to be offensive line, as we've seen.
Yeah.
I was thinking part of the
Ian for keeping that so short and brisk. That that was that's exactly the national storyline. I can't stand national storylines. They're boring. They get played out.
Yep.
They're not as nearly as important as what we're talking about normally, which is the offensive line cohesion. There's stuff. Here's the problem. The biggest storyline is we don't know what it is. It's going to emerge in the season, and we're going to be like, damn, we should have covered that harder.
Yeah. But there's no way to know.
Right.
And then Cord says the time is now for Texas. The pieces are there. That's kind of, I would give this like the fan narrative, which is like, how much more talent do you need, right? Like you have all of these. I'm a national fan, and I can name 8 guys on the Texas roster. Therefore, national championship, right? And then
I said something similar to that in the Q&A this morning. I started a Q&A forgetting about this video. So there's a Q&A of just people asking questions into the abyss. But it's Sark's time, man. If not now, when? At the same time, there has to be some sort of context to it. If he falls short, what was the reason? Did he fall short because of coaching blunders? Well, that's a big problem. If he fell short because the ball bounced the wrong way, that's a little different.
Our man Paul Wadlington. Can Texas turn arguably the most talented team in Sark's tenure into a champion, despite the hardest schedule in the country? I think that's a great broad one too. We'll see, because that's going to be we said that 5 different ways. Paul was able to put it clearly, as Paul often does. Justin, similar sentiment. It's probably Texas' best roster in 20 years in Sark's time. Is it their best in 20 years, or is it just, are we getting near at the actual best? Or are the championship team too nostalgic?
Well, I mean, that was over 20 years ago at this point. So,
yeah,
I think it's fair to say, roster talent wise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when was the last time we were talking about them having 4 guys being drafted in the first 12?
Right. That's where I'm like, it could just be the best of all time, too.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at the next question. Biggest concern heading into fall camp, I say lack of execution. So, being in 3rd and longs too much, not finishing in the red zone, too many penalties, getting stuff behind the line of scrimmage, all the little things that make offense pretty damn impossible. That's my
Evan, why is that execution capitalized? Is that a play call? Or what's going on there?
This is he just copy and pasted it. So I just literally wrote.
I tried to make some little edits throughout, but that's on me.
Yeah, I'm just writing. He sent it to my email. I'm just writing on my phone.
Yeah, execution is somebody's nickname. We're not playing him enough.
We're missing execution, dude.
He has to make sure it's emphatic.
Execution's out with a knee injury.
Donald Trump tweeted that out. Random capitalization.
I think I put something similar down the line in one of the other questions of like, I didn't want to. I don't know exactly how to put it on this one, but yeah, I mean, the 3rd and longs, the red zone penalties, like all these things that maybe are a little harder to really quantify in camp and actually understand how it's going to look in the season, which I think we had problems with last year, maybe outside of the penalties. Like that's come to bite Sarkisian throughout his whole entire coaching career, with his best teams, with his worst teams. So, that's got to be something he has to, I think, especially the red zone and the penalties like that has to be something that improves this year. And I don't know how much we can learn about that in camp, but I think it's great to point out, Connor.
Yeah, and it's hard. It is hard in camp. I'll hear it from, hey, there's still too many penalties. We'll hear about if they're in too many 3rd and longs, those kind of things. And then the flip side, right? What if the execution's perfect? Now I'm paranoid about the defense. So there's that camp trap here for sure. But I do want to hear some semblance of that they're making sense on offense and putting themselves in good situations. Eric says that Steve Sarkisian can have his team playing good enough by week 2. He's still learning his new players and getting O-line cohesion up to speed, while Muschamp is in year 1 of his install.
Yeah, this can't be one of those things where, there's a long season and we'll get better throughout it, because Ohio State is a must win. So you've got to be playing. You've got to be a better coach than Ryan Day by week 2.
Yeah. You still don't get a break because Tennessee's coming right around the corner too. So it's not even, you can't even survive till week 4.
Right. Yeah. They got to hit the ground running, man. Last year it took way too much time to figure out what they had. They didn't know what they had going into the season, and then they didn't know what they had 4 weeks into the season. So there's no time for that.
It wasn't until like Mississippi State where they were like, let's just spread it out. That just can't happen again. We can't be stubborn there.
Yeah, you've got to know what your team's strengths and weaknesses are. And this is tough because they can be good in 12 personnel, but if that's not their best, then they've got to get away from it. Good isn't good enough against Ohio State. So you've got to lean into what you're best at, and that means you have to properly ID it throughout the offseason and especially in August. You got to be playing clean, man. I picked Texas to lose to Ohio State in the semifinals a couple of years ago. It was easy. I just went with the team that plays cleaner football.
Yeah. One thing that drives me nuts that fans do is you'll see them run base concepts, like core fundamental concepts. And fans will be like, yeah, they're just building to something bigger. I'm like, dude, if you can't run counter, you can't do anything else. Your base concepts you have to be great at. That's not a growing thing. That is the foundation of your offense. So it's not that, hey, you're new and fresh. If you're not executing basic stuff, you cannot go into your bag of tricks. So just remember that earlier in the season. All right.
Hey, bring up this TW262150 thing.
Sark needs to be better than Ohio State defensive coordinator.
Well, this is only partially true. Sark is the head coach of the entire football team, not just the offense. And I think he was perfectly fine against Patricia last year. It was just, the team that comes back to capitalized execute. That one probably should have been in all caps execute last year because they couldn't execute the simple stuff when it was there, namely Arch Manning. But this is where Sark gets a get out of jail free card last year, where it's like, PK wasn't good enough. I had to change. Okay, that's fine, but you're the head coach, man. Head coach of the entire team, not the head coach of the offense.
Yeah, Sark did have some winners dialed up. We just couldn't hit like mesh. So, but that's still on the head. That's still on the head coach. But it wasn't just like the narrative coming out of that is that like Patricia schemed him up and shut him down, and that wasn't the case. I had to do a whole video on it. That it wasn't. It was a good game plan and good strategy, but it's not like Sark was baffled by it. They just couldn't do what they wanted to do. Like Arch was missing throws.
Well, Arch had a touchdown to the left side that he just went the wrong way on. He cut inside when he had a touchdown to the left. That's not, that's the capital E execution. But at the end of the day, the players have to execute there.
Yeah. How long has the team been prepping for Ohio State, Eric?
I mean, all offseason really, but it's not like they just say, all right, today this is what we're doing for Ohio State. But a lot of what they do that, the coaches don't label it, but it's a lot of concepts and stuff that they know it's going to work or they think is going to work against Ohio State based on all the game study that they've done throughout the offseason. They break down every team on the roster, by the spring, and then, team like Ohio State gets extra emphasis. And then the coaches from there, they start the workouts, the 7-on-7, the drill work they do, the game plans they try to install in their fast-paced walkthroughs are all things that are going to end up in the Ohio State game plan. But they're not sitting there going, all right, we're going to run this against Ohio State. It's just kind of by now, I think the players know it's implied. They've been doing this going back to 2023 Alabama, where they're not saying, hey, we're not doing this for Alabama. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went on that week when the game plan looked exactly like everything they'd been doing all summer.
They smuggle it in there. Because because it's not good psychologically to tell them, but it's absolutely something that they're planning for in earlier prep. I expect a higher scoring game against Ohio State. I think low 50s total.
I'm with that. I think it's gonna. I mean, obviously, higher scoring than last year seems like an easy bet, but I do think these are two teams who are going to lean on the offense a little more this year than they did last year. And at the end of the day, for Ohio State going to Texas, like Saban's got to be really good. They know that their star power from last year is way lower, and that's not to say that it's not a good roster, but I mean, Downs, Styles, Reese, Tate, all were top 11 picks. Like we're talking about Texas having 4 of the top 12. They just did that, and that's what they had to play against last year. So I mean, I think a lot of onus is going to be on QB1 and probably the Jeremiah Smith as well, because I mean, Texas has done a good job of locking him up the last 2 times they played. He hasn't been the one that's beat him.
And they were playing safe with saying, man, all last year. Did they actually unlock him? Because they were playing boring football.
It's really hard to know because the game plan for Texas they expected that didn't really show itself for a long time last season. Really never showed itself because they're defending deep, and Texas was never really good on the deep ball last year. At the same time, Texas is putting in a new defensive install, and that I don't know what to expect for early weeks. I think they're going to end up being very, very good, but there could still be some assignment busts. The good thing is, they have a lot of understanding of what works against Jeremiah Smith. Yeah. They've done the best job out of anybody, and they've played him twice, and they've shut him down pretty much both times. And Jeremiah Smith, I think his only drops of the season came against Texas last year, so you can't really expect to get bailed out like that again.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think there'll be more scoring. Texas has got a lot more firepower, but again, it depends if Arch is hitting the easy stuff.
Should Muschamp expect a more Ryan Day or Arthur Smith offense? Arthur Smith being heavier personnel, run, play action.
Go for Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like versus PK, I loved our defense against Arthur Smith's like style, but I don't know yet. I need to see that. How aggressive are we? Are we gonna keep the 2 safeties up top versus Jeremiah Smith? We ended up more in man. I just have to see it first, man. I really couldn't tell you.
Well, I mean, I've already heard some stuff on that. It's going to be. I don't think they're going to change up a whole lot in principle. Maybe the calls will be a little bit different. I think the principle is going to remain the same on how they defend him. They're going to make somebody else beat him.
They lost a lot of high-level talent off their defense. They are talented, but it is hard to replace that level of play. So normally I'd be like, dude, we say this every year, and they're still really good. But they did lose some like genuine freak human beings that are like Caleb Downs is a hard human being to replace, the linebackers. So even though I think they'll still be sound and good, I don't think they're going to have that like those 3 guys.
They'll still be good. It's just like, I mean, those were one-of-one college football players, especially Downs. I mean, that was someone who, from the first time he ever played football in college, which was against Texas, actually at Alabama, like that, he just had such a high impact on every game he played. And Reese and Styles were the 2 best athletically tested linebackers of all time. Like you just don't find that on your roster randomly when those guys leave.
And how do you?
I like this matchup for Texas. I mean, as much as you can like it. I liked it a lot more than the last couple.
Yeah.
And then let's take Evans. Biggest concern heading into fall camp.
I kind of mirrored what Eric said. Similar idea, but specifically the offensive line.
The level of readiness for the offensive line of scrimmage by the time Ohio State comes to town. How good will tight end and interior O-line look in week 2? I agree.
Offensive line of scrimmage. That's like the wheel of fortune before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah, the offensive line specifically have been too narrow. Wanted to have the tight end in there. Didn't know how to phrase it correctly.
Yeah. He wanted to include what if we're in 12 personnel. Yeah. I think tight end's a big metric that we need to pay attention to. It's probably the weakest projecting unit right now on the offense. And then, of course, interior offensive line, but can Baker and Seymour solve that problem? All right. Position battle you're most intrigued by. Kind of gave a boring answer, but I think the starting lineup is fairly set in my mind. It would have to be down ballot battles like who rises at third corner. Those are kind of, who's third safety, who's fourth safety. These are kind of my things. As far as frontline starters, I feel confident. Or if there's a battle, I feel confident in either. What do y'all?
Yeah, I mean, Cord needs to read inside Texas. That's Derek Williams all day long. What did I put? I put the linebackers. Yeah, the linebackers, of course. That's because that is still undecided. Ty Anthony Smith missed all of spring. He's going to have to go out there and win the job in pads in practice. You would think Ty Anthony Smith has the advantage. He's coming back. The last time we saw him, he was balling against Michigan, 8 tackles, 2 picks. But Juice Cryer's got the time within this scheme. Muschamp's brand new. So this is kind of a game on in August between those two. They're both going to play a lot. Ty Anthony Smith can also spell Rasheem Biles. But, there's a good chance that they just play the matchups with them too. And we see a little bit more rotation based on what the offense is presenting. And that could go down to what we were just talking about with Ohio State. If they want to bring their big personnel, you're going to want Juice Cryer out there. If they're trying to throw the ball underneath a lot, you're going to want Ty Anthony Smith, roaming around. Yeah,
that's why Mike's not super interesting to me, because I don't think there will be necessarily a starter exactly how you phrased it. It's like who's on the game plan, because they have very different skill sets. Like Ty Anthony Smith could drop back and get picks. Juice Cryer can go face guards. So it's just whatever they're bringing to the table, I think is the factor there.
And that's how it was at Will last year. I mean, it was Lafau and Smith kind of alternated games, so they had more snaps, and no one really was the starter there.
Evan says, while we know there'll be 1A, 1B, will either of Hollywood Smothers or Raleek Brown separate as the top dog? That is a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, Justin's got a good one there too, as far as number 4 wide receiver. Who's the first receiver off the bench? Right now, you would give it to Dalen McCutcheon.
Yeah.
But we know they love Jermaine Bishop.
I was going to say, you'll hear my responses about James Bishop or Jermaine Bishop.
A lot of responses about Jermaine Bishop.
Yeah, as we go down. I'm very excited about him. And then Paul also
has been working really hard too. So, I lean towards Lockett being a guy for next year, potentially a big breakout for next year. But, if he's going to break out next year, he's going to make plays this year too.
Yeah.
Paul, similar thing, Lawrence Seymour versus all the other options at left guard. Is there really anything going on with Seymour there? I hear about people talk about the other left guard options, but is he pretty safe starter?
Well, the problem is he doesn't exactly have the skins against high level competition. So there's still some variance in how he's going to do against a very good defensive tackle room consistently. We know he did pretty well against LSU, but he's got to go in, day out. The thing is, he's just got to go win it. He's a brand new guy. You can't give anything to anybody brand new. Tyler Horka is sweeping floors right now. You got to come in and earn your way. So that's what it is. But we all expect him to win it, and that's certainly the sentiment behind the scenes too.
Yeah. And then Charlie also, who starts at left guard, and then Tyler Horka, Lance Jackson versus Zena at defensive end.
Well, I mean,
they're situational, right? Currently, from your reporting,
they are situational, but also interchangeable. You could play Lance how you want to play Zena. You can play Zena how you want to play Lance. You could play Zena could be your third guy over there for Colin. If you don't go with Richard Wesley, which I think it will be Wesley at some point, but will it be Wesley versus Ohio State? That I don't know. But yeah, they're interchangeable. To me, it's like they're like the running backs. It's like Smothers and Brown are interchangeable. Now there might be certain things they do a little bit better than the other one, but the other one is good at that too.
Yeah, what a blessing, man. Our edge room is crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
Getting Zena back was one of the biggest plays of the offseason. I was ecstatic whenever I heard that. I didn't want to talk about it
twice, man. I celebrated that one twice.
Yeah, that one was huge. I do want to talk about the Smothers Raleek. I think you could end up where Smothers is your more smooth, consistent guy, and then Brown brings all the spectacle. And then they kind of balance each other out with that. What do you guys
Where I've landed at is I think Smothers will take the most carries this year and maybe have the most yards, but people are going to look at the yards per attempt of Brown and the receiving numbers, and they're more efficient, they're higher, and they're going, man, Brown should be getting all these touches that Smothers is. And it's like, well, they're helping each other. Like the reason Brown's more efficient is because Smothers can do some maybe the more dirty work and take the 1st and 10 snaps a little more, get those short yardage plays. But Brown's going to be electric either way. And whoever is the one who takes more carries, the number 2 is not going to be very far behind them. I just wonder if there's going to be one guy that really does just take a little bit of separation here in fall camp.
Yeah, I think Brown's going to be better inside than people give him credit for, but I think Smothers is going to be better outside and in the receiving game than people think too. So they're going to be well balanced, well complementary. But I can already see fans going, if Raleek Brown has a big 80-yard touchdown, it's going to be he should start. It's not. And
I think even though they're oddly similar, they have enough different utility to where they can help each other. It's a unique pairing that on paper you're like, these are the same guy, but they're not. But they are. It's very weird. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like we were all expecting some sort of thunder and lightning, and we got lightning and lightning.
Yeah. But Smothers is like, he has some runs, man. Who's the receiver from Miami, the freshman?
Tony.
Tony. So Tony's like superpower is like you can drop him in the middle of 4 guys with the ball and he just figures it out.
Yeah.
Smothers has that. Whenever he gets like stuck in the mix with safeties and linebackers around him, he just moves really well on the inside. Like once he gets through the initial line, that's something that I thought was special. And then Raleek, like you said, he's just dynamic. So if you make a mistake or misfit a gap, he's going to score on you. But don't get it like Smothers never got asked to block at NC State.
Yeah.
I watched his all of 22. He was on flares and screens every time. So I don't want to discount his pass catching too. But still, I don't know. Have you heard anything on pass blocking, Eric? That's something that seems like it'd still be a massive hole.
No, that I checked that in the spring, and I think I heard. Oh man, who was best? I got it, man. I don't know. I definitely mentioned it in the spring. I'll have to check again on it. I think they like Cooper in that situation, but that's terrifying having a true freshman back there.
Yeah, you want one of your 2 starters to really be there because you don't want it to be a total dead giveaway what you're doing.
Well, it's also just it's also an awareness thing. You know, you don't have to be huge to be a good pass blocker. You just have to light into guys. Trey Wisner wasn't big, and he was good at it.
Ryan Nelson, I think Brown is more explosive than last year, guys, but what do you think his deep speed is? So Raleek's like actual downfield, he's a running back, so he can fall off and get caught. But like he can get 40 before that kind of speed starts to trail off. And that's common with running backs. That was the knock on Bijan.
Yeah.
Remember, they decelerate. They're big, kind of explosive carrying guys. So if you're asking them to go 60, that last 20, a safety can kind of catch them. So I don't know about like pure long speed.
He was
do we have 100-meter on Raleek?
I don't remember what it is. I thought he was like a 10-6 guy coming out of high school.
That's awesome.
I'm not too worried about his speed. And also he's extremely explosive, which first and foremost is most important for a running back. Got Landon Williams-Callis the other day, Saturday committed, and I liken him to MJD. MJD's, first 10-yard split was 1.53. Bijan's was 1.52. That's the real measure of a running back. You've got to be quick to and through the hole. All right, 10-8, and that was, freaking 10 years ago for that guy. Yeah, Raleek Brown's plenty. He looks fast on tape to me, man. I mean, he's breaking some long runs, so I'm not worried about
No, he's
that.
fast on tape. The only time I've knocked him is whenever he's on yard 50. The safety can get him because
he ran.
Yeah, I mean, you run out of that juice. That's common for running backs on like super long distances. But I think it'll be all good. All right. Yeah, that room's going to be one to watch. Before we keep going, though, let's hear a word from Andre.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
All righty, boys. Let's continue. 2 starters I am excited to see. I say Emmett Mosley, the 5th. And then Rasheem Biles. I'm doing my job as the lead propagandist for Rasheem Biles. People are starting to come around. I'm starting to hear it more. That's good. My work is paying off. I think he's awesome. And as soon as we got him, so I'm super excited to see him. I think he's going to be the best of both worlds. I think he's going to make the flash plays to excite fans, but I think he's going to be far more sound than people think as well. Because we have this weird thought process. It's like because he weighs 220 that he's not a good run stopper. But it's like his tackling grade was like top 3 in Power 4. His run grade was like top 3. Like he had no problems with the run. He might not do it where he stands up guys in the hole, but I think that's kind of a made up problem with Rasheem Biles. So
linebackers are smaller than they used to be. I mean, that's you can be a more effective linebacker at 220 than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and he's clearly an effective tackler.
Well,
there are zero concerns about him playing the run behind the scenes.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that because it's just like this. I'm like, where did that come from? I think they just equated 220 to not being able to stop the run. And then Emmett Mosley being injured last year, not seeing him in full time. We'll see with Cam Coleman now, but he was the most skilled receiver. We would watch him in all 22 down the field, stuff you couldn't see as a fan on TV. And he would just take these perfectly timed, just subtle step at the safety. Safety reacts and he makes his move. Stuff that it sounds like I'm going after Ryan Wingo, but like Ryan would do the steps, but he didn't understand the dance yet. So like he would step kind of near a safety, the safety wouldn't react, and he would go to his second phase, but he wasn't getting that, like he was playing off the safety at that point. That was something with a young receiver. I think we'll see that change with Wingo. But Emmett was the only one that really had that consistently. So I'm really excited to see him as the third guy there.
Yeah, I was cheap propagandists a few weeks ago just talking about Mosley and what he did. I think against the Mississippi State game I pointed out. And he was and Wingo had a great game that game, but he had some issues. Late in the game, Mosley, the 2 touchdowns he had were really good routes and exactly what you're talking about. Like the little stutter step he does on the safety when it's not broken coverage from Mississippi State, but I think the safety and corner kind of didn't know who was on who immediately, and he just burned right past him. And then obviously that last catch down near the pylon, like game winner from a backup quarterback. So, I mean, I think that's a great call. He's someone that's gone so under the radar because Coleman, Wingo are the 2 names ahead of him. But this is, I think, easily the best wide receiver 3 in the country. I mean, I might not know some of the non-SEC teams as well, and maybe like one of the Ohio State guys really separates like that. Oregon's got a good group, but I mean, I think clearly of the SEC teams, like I wouldn't want any of their number 3 targets more than him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be super solid. Eric, what are you hearing there?
Yeah, I mean, the same day that Evan wrote that article, I was on a team call, and the first thing that was mentioned was Emmett Mosley was having a great summer, showing more speed. Nobody's gonna benefit from the presence of Coleman and Wingo outside like Emmett, and also the fact that there's not like some super tight end target that they truly love. I mean, Nick is probably going to round into that. I think Mosley's going to get a whole lot of pretty easy targets, favorable matchups, and Arch is the type of guy that's going to take advantage of them. And Mosley, based on that speed, I think instead of going for 13 yards and moving the sticks, might go for 30.
Yeah, he's faster than we realized too, and skill can make you faster. All right. Eric says his offensive player is Melvin Siani. Recent word as of Sunday said he might be the best run blocker on the O-line. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's either him or Gooseby, right? And if, they're talking about Siani like a future first round draft pick potential. So, yeah, I like what I heard on that phone call. That guy can disrupt my lunch anytime he wants to. And then, with Bo Masco on the other one with the reason being that we heard a lot about him in spring. He's rooming with Arch the first week of fall camp, and that to me that says something right out of the gates. If I didn't know anything else, I would be pretty hyped about that. They're not going to put Arch with a scrub. They're going to put him with somebody that's been making him think in practice and making him work for his connections. So everything we've heard about Bo, and one of the sources put him as the number 4 best player on defense. So that's pretty high given the fact that you got a few absolute studs in Biles, Colin Simmons, and of course Jelani McDonald. So yeah, I can't wait to hear more about Masco. And again, he's matching up against Cam Coleman a whole lot. He had the most success against Coleman. Those two are just going to make each other better.
I think he's the most underrated addition that we got in the portal. I think it's awesome to be able to just bring in who could be a number 1 or number 2 corner like that. That's we should not take that for granted. Ryan Nelson says Bo Masco is the one I'm the most excited to see, and it's just a great pickup. Last year, Gilbo was a liability outside. If we get Bo and Cade Phillips as good SEC corners in secondary, I cannot talk today, takes a big step. I agree. Yeah, not having to worry about corner 1 or corner 2. It absolutely matters. Let's see what you said here, Yvonne. I can't wait to see more of Ryan Wingo and the levels he can reach as an explosive playmaker. Give me any starting DB for the defense. I'll single out McDonald and Cade Phillips. Stock Wingo first things first. Eric, what are you hearing on our man Wingo?
I haven't heard a whole lot of late. Obviously they expect big things. I haven't really checked in too much on them. You just kind of hear the same old. This August, I'm going to definitely be checking to see if he's a little more nuanced. How are they using him? Are they just using him trying to get him in space, which we obviously know they want to do and they should do? It'd be dereliction of duty to not do that. but is he becoming more well-rounded and nuanced? That's what I want to learn about him. But even if he's just a more consistent version of last year, that's really damn good.
I don't think you need all the down. It's great if you get it, if he turns into the crazy downfield threat. But it's like, man, once you have Cam and Emmett in the backs, he can still just catch screens and it would still be awesome, or run guys off. So if he takes that lead, great. But if he doesn't, it's still going to be a good offense.
And it's a big thing. I mean, just talking about the consistency, Eric, if he catches 4 of those missed throws between he and Arch on those mesh concepts, I mean, We're talking about an 800-yard receiver turning into a 1,000-yard receiver. Maybe not that egregious of a difference, but I mean, if he's just got better hands and can figure out how to catch those passes, like completely opens up the offense and what they can do on some of those like 2nd and 3 times where they're trying to take a shot downfield, but also have an athlete like him on crossers.
Yeah, if the offense really starts to hit its stride this season, we'll see Wingo on some play action bombs because he can run vertically and run under the ball. Arch's timing has to be good, obviously, but we saw them hit a couple connections last year. We saw them miss a couple connections. They had to get away from it because the run game wasn't good enough. The pass protection wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
This year, the climate should be a lot better for those two to hit on some bombs.
We got the running backs from Charlie, Rasheem Biles. I'm good with that. We talked backs. We talked Biles. Tyler Horka, Cam Coleman. I think that's a very obvious one here. We're kind of hipsters, we don't want to give all the most obvious.
Too obvious.
We don't want to say like Cam or Arch, but it's a huge factor. Like everyone's going to be eyes glued to the TV when Cam comes on. And then Ty Anthony Smith too. I think that matters even beyond just like the obvious fan thing. Because it's just, I've questioned how Smith's role going to work. And so seeing that's going to be something that I'm intrigued by. And then
back to Cam real quick. If Horka wasn't here during the spring, so he didn't hear all the stuff that we heard where it's the guy's just a complete receiver. Horka's understanding of him is probably as a vertical threat, acrobatic catches, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But we have a more nuanced understanding of him, having covered him, the last 6-7 months. So we've heard about him off the field, heard about him on the field. And I think, Tyler's going to be just as excited about what he learns about him this month as we have been the last few months.
I think Ian made a smart choice here too. Wingo and Derek. So he's talking about kind of the number 2 at their positions. And if those number 2s activate and become elite, then you're in a really special spot. So a lot of people point out Jelani here. I think that's obvious. He's a special player, special athlete. What was it, Sam Houston, when he just like took off to the sky?
Yeah.
So clearly, as soon as I saw that as a scout, that I could just show you that clip as a scout and you'd be done with your athletic portion of the eval. But yeah, can Derek return to his former athleticism? And even if he doesn't, does a smarter player that's older and experienced at an experienced position with better coaching, is he able to solve that? But I like Ian's picks here about making sure that we're bolstering the number 2s as well, because it's not always just about your top line.
I think the ceiling is just so high for this DB room with Will Muschamp as their DC. And McDonald's an obvious one. Masco, we've talked about a lot, the sophomores, but I think just all around, so many talented players. And you've just got a kind of a fresh start with one of the best defensive minds, and specifically back-end defensive minds. I mean, the sky's kind of the limit for this group. We'll just have to see how, A, consistent can be, and B, like, is it more interceptions? How many more turnovers are they generating?
Yeah. I don't think anyone said Arch here besides Justin.
Justin did.
Yeah. So I'm just like, that's a good point. Like I said, we're all kind of going hipster. But yes, if Arch is really good, that's going to help us too. We have a good mix of staff. Some people, we get to the different layers of it. All right. 2 depth young players I'm excited to see.
You went real hipster on this.
Yeah, I did. So I went Jermaine Bishop and Rocky Cummings. So Cummings is very hipster because it's like, well, how much reps is he actually going to get? But he looked awesome in the spring game. We know his future's bright. We'll see if he gets enough reps to even to justify my pick here. But I think he's going to be absolutely awesome. And then Jermaine Bishop was someone I was holding out on. I was like, everyone is so hype on this kid, man. Like it just felt a little bit too much. And then I started really paying attention to his tape and stuff like that. I was like, this kid's the truth. This kid is very good. So I want to see him. Hopefully we can see him early in Texas State, UTSA, those kind of moments. Not saying he'll be a starter, but I think he can have impact early on games that we're up in. What do you guys think of those picks?
Well, I mean, I'm just as excited about Jermaine to see if they figure out just ways to get him the ball on, called plays in advance, not, not playing wide receiver, arch drops back looking for him, but you're giving it to him on sweeps or now screens, that sort of thing. I think we're going to hear about that at some point. I don't know how much in August, and he's going to play slot, outside. It's all going to happen at some point, but how soon? The emergence of Emmett Mosley, at least what we've heard about the emergence behind the scenes, could keep him off the field, at least a little bit. They're still going to use him, but they really like that group of 3 wide receivers for schematic reasons as much as the individual talent. So we'll see about Jermaine. He's going to be a baller. It's only a matter of time. Cummings, yeah, you're probably a year early on him. First things first, he's going to have to barge his way on the special teams, which I'm not sure he's there yet. But very bright future. Right now would probably be the 4th Mike linebacker, just because they could slide Spence over there if they need to. But he's got the highest ceiling at Mike linebacker probably on the team. And so, when you start figuring for that, they can move up real quick if they start understanding a little quicker.
And also, your sourcing has been really good about mentioning don't forget the young linebackers. Don't forget the young linebacker. They bring them up a lot. So I think that's a good thing. And often you're good about not leading the witness, because you can, if you ask, tell me how Arch is, or is Arch playing good, they're going to give you some version of that. It's when
I don't lead the witness, but also we talk about who's making plays, but also then we have to put expectations on it too. I file everything away, right? I already know Rocky Cummings is going to be a good college football player, but I don't know when. I don't know when that's going to be.
Is he my Vernon Broughton?
No, I think it'd be better. I think he'll be better than Vernon. Vernon got better each year, but not at the pace I would have liked. Not at a pace that would have made me look genius.
Yeah. We'll see if he can hook me up next year. Eric says, give me Derek Cooper at running back. He has the chance, albeit perhaps unlikely, to emerge as the lead back later in the year. So let's talk about that first. So
just going by what I've heard, as far as, you're talking about trying to grind out games in the SEC in November, which Texas has been pretty good at, other than that game against Georgia last year. I think that could be his time to shine. Limited usage early in the year is going to make him fresher later in the year. He's going to have time in the run schemes. So I think time for a young freshman running back is huge. And it's a position where they can emerge at a young age. Cedric Benson famously did it after Ohio State or after OU, much to the chagrin of fans that felt he should have been playing earlier. But Cooper has that type of ability to play early. It's just that he's got 2 seasoned veterans ahead of him. But he's going to play a foundational role later in the season. I feel pretty strongly about that. And then Richard Wesley, we're hearing really good things. Colin Simmons didn't start his true freshman year. They had Trey Moore. We're hearing Colin Simmons is obviously going to start as one of the best players in college football, maybe the best player, but Wesley's going to play a lot this season as well. So I went with guys that I expect something out of this year, basically.
Yeah. And Wesley, what was that pickleball? Were they playing pickleball the other day?
They were.
Wesley looks confident and comfortable with his team. Should be a senior in high school.
He is physically mature and mentally mature beyond his years. He's one of Will Muschamp's favorite guys on the entire roster.
Yeah, well, that's always good to hear. Evan, you go with Jermaine Bishop. That's a good pick, dude. And then give me Jonah Williams on defense. I think he's in for a big camp. Were you the only Jonah Williams guy? I think I
think we've gone so far the other direction on Jonah, because I think
we got bearish. I think we got emotionally kind of pissed off at baseball. So I do think we've gone pretty bearish on Jonah, fan base wise.
I mean, at the end of the day, he hasn't played baseball since March, and I was obviously there looking into it, and I said as soon as it happened, well, for you baseball guys, or you football guys, this is the best thing that could have happened to him. He's just going to rest for a lot of this time, and if he was going to be playing baseball into what ended up being June, would have really probably derailed a bit of his development for football. So now he's been able to hit the weight room with the football team. He's been with the football team for a long time, which also matters. And we're talking about the safety room and how the number 3 spot, there's a lot of good guys and good opportunities. I think JJR is going to be a really good run stopper in particular. Kobe Black's going back there, but who's to say that Jonah Williams can't be a guy that emerges? And now he actually has a full camp to kind of break out here. And he's a really talented football player. Let's not forget that. He didn't just get given, the 5-star rating because he played baseball. So I would love to see if Jonah Williams have a big breakout camp and get some early reps in the year. But I think he definitely is someone that, we talk about the players like you mentioned earlier with Wesley at the edge room, and maybe not playing against Ohio State, but one of those guys that ramps up as the year goes on and gets some meaningful snaps later on.
We hearing anything there, Eric?
Yeah, just what I've been reporting. You know, if you could combine Kobe Black and JJR, you'd have sort of Jonah. You know, Jonah's just sort of different. He's got the range and the coverage, and then he's got the size, and he can be physical in the box too. I tend to think that he's going to make his first impact at field safety, which means that JJR to me is safe at boundary safety. I don't know if that's going to last forever or what, but to me it seems like that's where it's trending to start. So I kind of see him and Kobe in a 1-versus-1 competition for that backup to Jelani, assuming they keep Jelani at field. They've moved Derek and Jelani back and forth between boundary and field. But yeah, he needs a big August, and he's got to do stuff in pads. You know, he knows what to do on the field, on the walkthrough, in the classroom. He knows what to do, but you've got to process fast, and you got to do it in pads. So I'm just waiting. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to hear about him. It's just he's been theoretical this entire offseason. I'm tired of talking about him.
Yeah, that's the fan sentiment too. Fans with Jonah, we are tired of talk. It's time for him to stay healthy.
Well, I'm not worried about him long term. It's as long as the nagging injuries don't persist. I'm not worried about him long. He's a freaking sensational athlete.
Yeah,
he's a pure football player. He's ridiculous. It's going to work out for him. He just needs time and some health. My expectations for September are somewhat tempered, but he could change that with 5-6 good practices in a row.
Well, I know you guys aren't very tapped into baseball, but let it be known that the baseball team has added quite a few outfielders this offseason. So, I mean, he's not solidified at all for a starting spot.
Well, that was my question right before portal season. I texted you and Joe. I said, "Hey, man, what's our sign here? If they take how many outfielders? Is it a sign about Jonah?"
They took 4 outfielders, and they already had a starter. So, you know.
So, and baseball knows that Jonah is a football player first. You know, that's kind of the deal about having him in the first place. Football is paying the bills here.
Yeah. Let's talk about some other players our staff mentioned. Coach says Smoke Matthews. Yeah, how much do you think Samari can integrate?
Well, Coach has a soft spot for Smoke since covering him so closely as a recruit. And Charlie's been right about him, man. He made a lot of noise in the spring. His problem is Warren Roberson is a starter level cornerback at number 3. But if they rotate corners, and we've seen them rotate corners a lot in the past, not quite as much last year, they'll rotate him if they feel comfortable. And based on the spring, and I assume he's going to have a good camp, I expect to see him play. There's no doubt about it.
Tyler, we got a deep cut here too, man. Jamarian Carlton. Excited about that too. He gained so much weight.
He's a big boy.
That was remarkable. So he could play that 4-eye, maybe move into a 3-tech defensive tackle. So nice pick, Tyler.
He's a guy that you just put in the smoker for a year. He's not a microwave guy, but he's going to be really good.
He's who was it Taquan Graham that came out of Temple?
Yep.
Yeah. Temple's dropped some guys. Who else did we get from?
The important thing for Carlton is learning about how he's got that physical mindset. He's a dog. That's important because you got to be more of a dog the closer you play to the ball. So we're hearing the right things about him, and he's going to keep growing. I think he's going to be a very versatile, maybe I don't want to say, maybe a better version of Ethan Burke, a guy that can play up and down the line, but one that you would feel a little bit more comfortable playing inside, maybe on a rundown.
Ethan Burke return? Is that something that could happen after that?
I've been reading up on that. I don't think he would be favored to make their 53 right now. The only thing that helps him is that there's a lot of Ravens edge room injuries. So I'm going to keep looking at that. But
it'd be hard for me to see that. Like it's time to play Zeno a lot. You can't take Lance off the field a whole lot. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't be able to transfer because of the injunction said the transfer rules still carry over.
Yeah, I like that rule. And then Ian, Kobe Black. So he's kind of keyed in several times here on like safety depth, which I agree with. We've been studying a lot with Pack, how much the safeties matter in that system. So I think Ian's on the right track there. I think moving Kobe Black to safety was really smart. He showed that, particularly in Texas A&M, a lot of his big plays were read and then come down and hit and make the play. So it's like similar to a nickel or more of a safety. So I really like that move. And it was something that, we've tried to whisper about for 3 years, but safety can be a slur to some corners and then they don't love the concept of it. But it seems like we were able to get him over there in a position that I think is probably best suited for him.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes time. I don't think Kobe was super excited about it. Sure didn't want to play it coming out of high school, but
Yeah.
I don't know if the writing was on the wall, but I think he wants opportunity, man. It's year 3 for him. You want to get on the field by any means necessary.
I agree.
He had some really good moments last year, and it kind of surprised me how he didn't get the snap counts that we might have thought he would in year 2. And then like A&M, he played a tremendous game, was really, really present as a run stopper as well. So I'm looking forward to see how that changes the style of play he has, but also like how much he can adapt to maybe what fits him better.
Tyler Atkinson, how much do you think? How's his progress coming along? We know he has the athletic traits, but learning Muschamp scheme.
He's the same as Cummings, where he's like the fourth will, because Spence would play there as well. So you got Ty Anthony behind Biles, then Spence could slide over. So he's in the same boat as Cummings. Talented, going to be good, still learning to process everything. Probably get on special teams first. My expectations for both those guys are tempered for this season, but they're not tempered long term.
And then Paul calls out Justice Terry. You see that picture the other day of him?
Oh my God, he looked giant.
What's the place in California where all the bodybuilders work out?
Gold's Gym.
Yeah. Not even on the beach.
Oh, Venice Beach.
Yeah, on Venice Beach. He had those arms in 8th grade. I was worried that he was developmentally maxed out by the time he was 14. And luckily that is not the case. But
he's not the type of guy that has to do the hands under the bicep trick.
Yeah.
I saw Taft doing that in a picture.
Yeah,
him and Quinn. So
you put it on the Taft still look bigger than him.
Justice had some crazy plays. He had a pass rush versus A&M that just showed you what he's capable of.
That's a good pick. I like that's why there are deep dive guys that Kobe Black and Terry picks are pretty inspiring, because they have a chance to play a lot more, or they have a chance to not play if it's up to them, because there's talent around them. Kobe could get jumped by Jonah. Justice Terry's he missed spring, and they've got 6 defensive tackles, 7 including Terry, that could play this year. So the ball's in their court, man. They need good springs, but they need good August, but if they have that, then they're going to probably have really good seasons.
Yeah. All right. Biggest breakout candidate, I went with Jermaine Bishop. That's a theme with me. I think
breakout.
Yeah. Can you even break out at this point if everyone's calling it? But I think, I just think he's super skilled beyond being a crazy athlete. So that's my pick. I don't really need to talk more about Bishop. All right. Eric goes with Cade Phillips here. Why is that?
Well, I think he's a potential 30-year player. And if he's a 30-year player, he's going to start looking like that relatively soon this season, I believe. There's a chance he could, have a middling season. And then you've seen that, guys, that you only get 1 year of really good production out of. I've seen that in college football actually quite a bit. But Cade showed very good signs last year. He had a good spring going against Cam Coleman. He's rooming with Cam Coleman, which tells you that they've got a nice little rivalry. I think if he's on the opposite side of Masco, it allows the defense to do so much more, get so much more aggressive, especially with the safeties, which, Muschamp loves to move those guys around. I think Cade's going to have a breakout, and I think it's going to help the whole defense.
So remember that where they caught the touchdown on Cade versus Georgia? If you don't study football enough, he was in perfect coverage.
Right. Yeah.
So what I came away from that is like, wow, that was excellent coverage. Like if they just throw like that, there's nothing you can do. I was super impressed with that rep, even though most people would be like, he gave up a touchdown. It's like, no. Like that was just really well executed to be that young and be able to stay on that receiver.
It's like the Smoke Matthews clip earlier in the spring where he got mossed by Cam Coleman. You're like, hey, that true freshman was smothering Cam Coleman. Just kind of sucks that he got
exactly.
dominated at the point of the
Cam Coleman just does that to you, man.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, dude.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with your coverage ability.
I think it's a year early on Jermaine Bishop as a breakout player, but I like Paul hedging, the gambler that he is. Look at him.
Come on now.
Because he knows it's going to be one of those guys fighting for those reps, but there's a chance they split, and then it's neither as a breakout.
But can you break out as a number 3? Like the highest receptions we've had as a number 3 for Sark has been 50 one time with Jordan Whittington. So can number 3 even break out in that traditional?
Yeah, and Whittington had 1 or 2 touchdowns. You got to have touchdowns to break out.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have a number 4 on that team either. Like it was just the top 3.
Yeah, the problem that the problem that Bishop has is that he does have Mosley and their scheme preference for those 3 big wide receivers out there. And so if they grind people down with that offense like they think they will, Sark's not going to feel the need to go to Jermaine as opposed to if they get to their situation in Mississippi State last year where they have to throw the ball around, then you're going to want to get it to Jermaine. Jermaine's got it in him to break out. I just don't think he's going to break out this year. That's why I went with a guy that's guaranteed to start.
Yeah. And then let's see what else we got here from Evan.
Yeah, already talked about him.
Okay, Terry. You did the Justice Terry. Okay, I'm down with it. Charlie goes with Nick Townsend. So I know Eric's excited to hear this.
That's a good one because, a breakout requires opportunity, and Nick Townsend is guaranteed to get opportunity. And then he's going to make – I don't know if he'll break out from a pure football sense behind the scenes with the coaching and how they grades with blocking and all that, but he's probably going to break out with fans because if you get that guy in the open field, he's either going to truck somebody or he's going to run away from them. And fans love those exciting plays. I love those exciting plays. They stick in our memory. So I do think he's going to make some of those. Look at his plays last year, right? I remember his first play of the season vividly, coming across the formation and just lighting into an Ohio State guy. I think that was his first collegiate snap ever.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he does exciting, fun, aggressive stuff. But we need to see him do
it might be the wrong guy that he's blocking, but he goes 100.
He's going to lay the hammer on that.
Yeah. He's launching into somebody. It might be his own right tackle.
Yeah, right.
He's going to launch into somebody.
Yeah. And then also just the speed he had on that A&M quick give. So yeah, he has all that exciting stuff. So yeah, and then someone makes a point. You can't break out as a true freshman. You're just debuting. Fair.
I agree.
But I picked Jermaine Bishop, so therefore I disagree with you automatically. All right. Tyler wants Jonah Williams. We'll see. Talked about a lot of these guys here. I want to see what we have. So we had more Jermaine Bishop was kind of the clear one here, though.
I mean, Cord points out Cam, which I think it's fair to say, like, was Coleman's 700 yards, 750 last year, and
so that's the problem. Is the idea of Cam is so different from production.
Right.
And Eric's pointed this out several times because I'll say that like the wide receiver room doesn't have the highest ceiling, and Eric correctly points out he's like technically they do because if you look at their production, it can go way up, and so I agree with that.
Coleman averaged 12.6 yards per catch last year, something asinine.
Dude, Cam's numbers were awful last year, and then you go and then you get paranoid, and I'm like, oh no, what are we doing? Because he's not going to be free. And then you go and watch the tape, and you're like, okay, Auburn this was a horrific usage.
The Vanderbilt game, where like the last 3 minutes they just start throwing it at him in the back corner of the end zone, and he just demolishes the cornerback he's on. It was some of the most entertaining like transfer tape I've ever gotten to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that Cam could actually be a production breakout, even though he's already, super well known. But we could phrase it like that. Lockett. I'm a Lockett guy, but Eric keeps, with his intel kind of just like
you can't break out with Cam Coleman in front of you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the problem. But I love Lockett too. I think next year is the one for Lockett. I'll look for any excuse to hype up Kalik. All right. Let's see what we got here. What's one thing you want to hear most about the offense's progress this fall? They are putting themselves in ideal situations consistently, similar to what I said with execution. Just don't make your life harder than it has to be, whether it's penalties or being in third and longs. I'm a big success rate guy. I think it really shows your coach. I think that's the metric that shows how good of a coach you are. And so that's what I want to see. Just don't always have to be fighting, so I don't want Sark to always have to scheme up some play to get 2 yards. I just want to get it done. That's my big thing.
Yeah. Call the first down play instead of call the touchdown play.
Well, no, it's like, remember the one I think y'all got mad. Some of y'all got mad. I can't remember in the group chat, but like, it was like the first quarter of a game. It wasn't a big game. It was like 3rd and 2. We were on like going into the end zone, like the 30. And we called basically like a 2-point conversion to get a 3rd and 2 with like trick play motion and all this stuff. I'm like, guys, it bums me out. We have to go there oftentimes. And it bums me out that you will need that. You could need that later in the game. That's what I mean. It's the little things really matter here. All right, Eric, the offensive line is gelling together and limiting penalties.
That's it. I mean, what else needs to be said? It's been driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I have not been a fan of the offensive line really ever under Kyle Flood, because you measure your considerations by expectations. I don't think they've ever met the expectations I've had for that line going into the season. It's even the 2023 team, way too many penalties for the experience it had. 2024, more of the same, way too many penalties. Last year was penalties and just entirely ineffective.
What was that weird phrasing at SEC Media Days where Sark was like, our team has an urge to commit penalties or something? That Sark has like noticed some type of like psychological addiction to penalties that we have?
I don't know. It's just, and it's not just the offensive line. I mean, and last year it was, even if they cut their penalties in half, they still would have been like, 50 or something. I mean, it's just, or 70. It's just, it's got to be fixed, man. It's hard to pick them for a national championship to be national champions when the offensive line has never really met expectations and they have way too many penalties. It's almost like anything else I'm looking at to try to get over the hump, I'm wasting my time. But I don't know. I'll get creative and probably figure it out.
You could pick two metrics, and it would just be like technically three: red zone offense, red zone defense, and penalties. If you looked at those three, I think it could tell you the national championship, or at least how far you're going to get. I think it's that important. All right, Evan.
Yeah, I kind of split their uprights on both years.
Yeah, limiting some of the problems Sarkisian offenses have struggled with in recent years: penalty, red zones, execution. Dude,
no capital
I totally agree, dude.
No capital E.
I totally agree. Let's see if anybody else picks something different. Coach Williams, the offense winning their fair share of battles of inside run and red zone situations. So being able to move guys vertically, I think, has been a big problem for the offensive line. And Tyler Horka, Arch Manning's timing with his targets look effortless, and a major reason for that being the case that the offensive line is giving him time to truly feel comfortable going through his progressions. So that's what we saw. He can progress at probably, maybe the best in college football at getting through his reads. Can he survive that? And then my thing too is just like, does the short game come alive? Can Arch win the easy ones? Ian Boyd, that Manning and Cam Coleman have a terrific connection. Of course, Ian's philosophy and belief system is that, outside receivers can change games, and he has very good evidence to prove so. So I'm not surprised to hear that as well. Cord's kind of similar to Coach. O-line is moving, defensive line at point of attack, big factor, and then Paul gets it. Arch Manning finding easy money in the passing game with greater efficiency, and the outside zone run game getting on track. All right.
Agree with that.
Justin Wells, balance. If they find a harmonious rhythm of run and pass, this offense will be unstoppable. All right.
Harmonious.
What's one thing you want to hear most about the defense's progress this fall? I said defense limits growing pains from a new system install. I think, Eric, yours is similar, right? Assignment soundness. I know there's a ton of individual talent, but it doesn't matter if they're blowing assignments.
Yep, that's install. I mean, even with the experience, they're still install. And this is more of a problem with last year. I think getting Gideon back up, there's a lot of familiarity between the players. Certainly all the players other than Bo Masco have been coached by Gideon. That helps. Gideon and Muschamp are familiar with each other. So that helped. That you brought in Mark Stoops to help, which, there's just a ton of eyes on it. I'm not too worried about the assignment soundness in the back end, but I want to hear more data from August, from scrimmages and stuff, to get over it, because that's the quickest way to lose a game or let another team back into it, is just giving up big plays. That can't happen with the experience. But then, you got a brand new defensive coordinator, turnover at that DB coach too. So it's something we got to watch.
Evan says confidence in stopping the run consistently. Is this because of kind of we're questioning linebackers in the run? Why that?
I think I have more confidence in pass rush and DB play, making for really good pass coverage this year. And it's not just Biles is 220, therefore he can't stop the run, but when he and Smith are in together and it's not a heavier defensive line package, how does that look? How do the safeties stop the run? Littleton is another guy who I'm keen in on. Like, is that part of his year 2 growth, like being a bit more consistent as getting into the backfield, getting running backs? So Just one thing I'm looking out for.
Yeah, one thing is that the run defense isn't as straightforward as it was last year. You've got guys replacing other guys more often, right? So that, then you got to be on the same page with that. You got a lot of, if you guys have guys in 4-eye, are they getting caught? Who's playing the force? There's change ups and duties depending on the schemes, which is more than what we saw last year. And they were losing contain last year more so than they had in the past too. So team discipline.
I agree. Charlie Williams, linebackers are fitting the run. It's kind of what we hit. Tyler Horka, secondary is under control and cohesive, similar to some thoughts with Eric. There are no Jade and no Michael Taft. Ian, once again, on the safeties, Derek Williams and Kobe Black are taking the Will Muschamp's defense at safety like fish or water. Big theme with Ian. Should pay attention whenever he harps on something. Similar to me with Core, they've acclimated the system. Paul, they stopped busting coverages with competent coaching. I think that will occur. Justin wants to pay attention to linebacker play. I think clear kind of themes throughout here. Linebacker play, stopping the run, and then is the secondary giving up, letting teams get back in games.
No one's concerned about Colin Simmons, I don't think.
Yeah. Is he going to get sacks? Final question, predictions. Texas overall record, and will they win the SEC? I went 10-2, and I said LSU, and then I kind of copped out, but some type of middle tier upset. Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, something with this hard of a schedule and this so many games you have to get up for. Of course, we got close twice last year. It didn't happen, but somewhere in that middle. But I actually said yes to SEC champs. So
I didn't know we could do a cop out.
Yeah, I presented it.
Always do a cop out, Eric.
You just have to say, and it's a cop out.
Damn it.
You can do that. What's the other version? Just name two good teams. I mean, come on, man. I knew everyone was going to pick, one of the.
Did you notice a theme for all 9 of us in this that people are pointing out?
I see
9 losses to LSU through every single one.
Yeah, I figured we were gonna have similar ones. So I was like, something about this hard schedule is like the upset is baked in somewhere probably. And then what were yours, Eric? You said 10-2 as well, so we're the same there. You say OU and LSU, and then you'll explain in the comments. You said OU, therefore you must explain, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean. I go back to 2023, which is fresh in my mind. About Texas beat Alabama on the road, great win, and I think there was a lot of confidence, perhaps overconfidence, playing OU. And OU outplayed them in that game from start. Texas played well at times, but OU deserved that win, and obviously Texas ran the rest of the schedule from there. This year could set up similarly. They beat Ohio State. If they beat Tennessee on the road, they're going to be riding high. There's going to be confidence given the last few performances against OU. OU can't score, blah, blah, blah. If OU comes out and momentum gets on their side, they could win that game. Now, I'm not going to pick OU to win that game most likely, but this is this conversation right here. But last year, we went into the Lions Den up there in Dallas, and everybody was picking OU. Nobody was giving Texas even really a chance. It's kind of embarrassing the way that game played out relative to expectations going into it.
Yeah.
And so you could just see a role reversal, and momentum's huge in that game. And, I can see John Mateer doing some Dylan Gabriel type stuff where it's either going to be picked or intercepted or a touchdown. Those sorts of plays that can go either way. And if they break OU's way, that they can win that game. But really, it's just a cop out. They've got to lose to somebody if I pick 10-2, right? LSU is the easiest one to pick, but they might beat LSU too. So, I mean, you're just playing probabilities at this point. If you pick 10-2, there has to be 2 losses. To me, it doesn't really matter who they are to as long as it's not A&M in the last game of the season. And I say that because you want momentum riding into the playoffs.
And fans are going to hate this, but the reality is when OU is actually a functional team, they've beaten us. We've had weird advantages in quarterback play and stuff like that too. So I think they're going to be more solid this year. So I'm excited for that because it's an opportunity to remove an excuse of injured quarterback or quarterback not playing or blah, blah, blah.
Justin didn't understand the assignment here.
He went above.
I don't think I made it clear enough. I think everyone else just got it a little more correctly.
So Justin gave us the whole season. Texas will end up 13-2 with a loss to LSU. They will win the SEC championship, but they will lose to Notre Dame in the Natty. So the prophet. Evan says 11-1 with a loss to LSU. Georgia defeats Texas. Flat circle, brother, in the SEC conference game.
Dude, your likes on this story would have been way more if you would have finished that last sentence differently.
Yeah.
Or just 12-0.
Charlie is the most bearish, 9-3. They'll lose to Ohio State, LSU, and Ole Miss. and Georgia will be the SEC champs. All right, Charlie. I'm mad at you. You answered the question, but
Ian was very positive.
that one's a bummer. Horka 10-2, Ohio State, LSU. Georgia's the SEC champ. Can't be mad at the Georgia thing. Ian 11-1 with a loss at LSU. Sure, will clear out Georgia final. That's kind of how I feel. Cord 11-1 SEC champs. LSU.
I'm telling you, 9 LSU losses.
It's not even because we're playing at the Valley. It's just like I think Kiffin's been waiting on this one.
And the schedule really does not go Texas's way building up to this than it does for LSU.
Paul,
it is an away game. It matters.
Paul here, of course, using a bell curve. 10-2 is the fattest part of the bell curve. Naming losses is a meaningless mindset with the schedule. I prefer to.
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Just answer the question.
I know. We get it, Paul. You're smart. I'd prefer to miss the SEC title game altogether and prep playoffs, but sure, why not beat Georgia and get that monkey off of our backs? All right, cool. So fairly positive, ranging from 9-3 to 11-1. Still really solid.
Thanks for the like.
All right, that was the round table. Are we going to do one each week? You've been leading up to season?
I was probably just going to do one maybe the last week of camp or right after the last week of camp, but we can keep doing them if you want. We can throw in some new questions.
Yeah, throw in some new questions. Man.
We can look more globally.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun. And then we got Eric, how's reporting working? And then when are they getting ready for camp? When are they going to camp? All of that stuff.
They report tomorrow morning. Camp begins at 2:30 Wednesday. I don't think Texas cares much about the UIL rules about practicing in the heat. They'll be out there 2:30 on Wednesday, and we will be there en masse, ready to report.
All righty. And you guys can stay locked in on all of those notes and intel the team will be sending your way. Join for $1, then 50% off your first year. Just click the link in the description below. It'll take you right there to sign up. And then buy the 2026 Longhorn Football Prospectus, Thinking Texas Football. Paul has given himself annual homework, and I am glad he does. It's awesome. It's going to be funny. Historic. You're going to hear something about ancient Rome. You're going to hear, and of course, incredible insights. He almost does too much research for these things. It's an incredible, incredible thing. You need to go grab it. Everyone stay locked in.
He also has a good research tool.
Yeah, he's
inside Texas.com.
I was gonna say it helps give him a little bit of insight there, but he can get into third string tackles on Mississippi State in a heartbeat. So everyone stay locked in for the rest of the videos coming at you today. See you later.